AITA for being the only one in my family who didn't forgive our father on his deathbed. Hello everyone. I am not sure how I can properly explain this or write this up, but I will do my best. I haven't seen my father in years, since he got locked up. My good streak of over 25 plus or so years of not seeing him ended not that long ago when my family showed up at my front door and my mother was locked arms with him. To sum that whole thing up, my mother wanted us to forgive our father for everything he has done for us, and to be one big happy family again. My father tried to emotionally gaslight me and paint me as the bad guy for refusing to acknowledge any chance of retribution between us. I went off on both my mother and father for the arrogance. I just lost a son due to his poor decision-making skills, and in return, my mother seems to want to bring someone in his place. That's what I think she's trying to do. I'm aware of how emotionally incompetent my mother is, so I might be wrong. It might be that my mother is old and is just looking for love or companionship, which is fine. But to bring the animal of a father back. Ever since the altercation, the family has been divided. At first my siblings were 100% with my FU speech, but as time went by the opinions started to change. My sisters have been with my mother more, and with my father being there, I guess his has gotten under their skin. I do not know of the exact details, but we have been at odds, with lots of back and forth and a lot of minor arguments. My brother has also come by and have tried to me about it. I do not ignore them, even if I disagree and am disgusted with what they tell me. Maybe it is time to move on. Give yourself peace. Mom is happy he tried to be a better person, and why can't you? You're being stubborn. I do my best to listen to them and consider them. See their POV. I don't. I have just stood up and walked away a few times like a child. I've become distant with my daughters. I'm just emotionally drained. 4 days ago I received a call from my mother while I was at work. My father had a heart attack and was in the hospital. I showed up and everyone was there, my sisters holding his hand and telling him that he is going to be okay, my mother crying, and my brother looking at me to see what was next. He looked like a dying piece of shit. I did not know how to feel. I would like to paint myself as indifferent to the situation, but I could not. I was feeling something, but I do not know what. I spoke to the nurse and she told me that the heart attack nearly killed him, due to his age and whatnot. The short version was that the next one might put him under and he will have to stay. A few hours went by and my father spoke to us, same old shit as last time. He asked for forgiveness. He actually spoke the words "I'm sorry." He brought up everything that he did and asked each one of us for forgiveness. That he doesn't want to die knowing his family hates him. I do not know why, but I was crying despite not trying to or wanting to. I think at that moment the child in me finally left my body. At least that's what I think. My whole family told him that they forgave him for everything and that they loved him. I was the last one he asked forgiveness to. It was like a coming-of-age kind of thing. Everyone looking at me, tearfully waiting for the happy ending to all these years. I kept looking at my father and I couldn't say it. To describe it best, I went mute. In my head I wanted to conform and just say I did just to get it over with. But no. I told him that I would not simply forget and forgive him. I have lost so much cause of him. I lost my childhood and my pets. My innocence, my emotional and mental well-being. He was never a father to us. He will die with at least one of his kids hating him. I have never felt more hurt in my life than at this very moment. The room went silent and I just walked out of the room. I do not know what else to say here. I walked out of the room being the only one to not forgive him. My family has been texting me and calling me, not to berate me or anything but to ask how I was and whatnot. My mother was the only one who was calling me crying and begging me to come be a family again before it was too late. I was immature and just hung up the phone. 2 days later my father passed away at the same hospital bed where I last saw him. I do not know how to explain my feelings to thoughts about anything. I'm writing this as a form of therapy, I guess. A chance to explain and ask. My mother came by yesterday. We talked, but she was a lot more calm and unemotional than usual. She asked me if I was happy and if everything was how I wanted it to be. She told me that I could have just forgiven him and everything would have been better. I could have been happier if I just let it go. I'm not upset at my mother. I may not understand, but I'm not. I just hugged her. I do not know. Ida?